Project Zomboid is a game where everything you need to survive is scattered across the world. So if we were to say, shrink that world down to a single chunk, how would you overcome the lack of pretty much everything you need? Inspired by the likes of Ambiguous Amphibian, Wadsy, and many more, today I start a new journey, where the boundaries of my world are defined by chunks. With one catch: every 24 hours, I'll be able to unlock a neighboring chunk. Can I survive long enough to build a sustainable future, or will the figurative walls that hold me spell out my death? Let's find out inside this one little cell just southwest of West Point. I had set out on this adventure with my friend Fishstore. This was, in some ways, a poison chalice, since having an extra person around would make fights easier to survive, but our already limited source of food would now be depleting at twice the speed. This was, in some ways, the nature of the beast. Even if we dedicated all our cells to heading to the nearest source of food, to identify a nearby house, then locate and navigate the food within would probably cost us at least 5 or 6 cells. And in our world, that was 5 or 6 days. Such was the folly of our current circumstances. Disturbed by the growing grunts of the undead outside, I took it upon myself to confront them, equipped with my incredible archery prowess.
Oh, you got this. I'll just pick them off at the back. Kill another one. Oh, nice. You're getting some too.
In moments like this, I relish the company of Fishstore, in case I missed the occasional shot. Of course, this was at most an extremely rare occurrence. With the immediate threat felled, we borrowed the Zed's clothes and accessories for later use. I take no pleasure in stealing these fashionable boots, because in the apocalypse, we do only what we must. As the hours of day one passed, we assessed any nearby groups to determine if a worthwhile fight was possible. While we were apprehensive, some of the mods used on this adventure meant that there was always a slim chance Zed could possess a random item essential to our progression: food, tools, guns, and the like. I began a collection of jewelry to later be recycled into scrap metal. This would become my shiny drawer for all my shinies that no one would touch.
Shiny, don't touch my shine. Shine, it's a shine.
I have a lot of issues. I consensually ogled at nearby zombies, in particular those with large guns and nice clothing. But with our options of escape so slim, we had to abstain from any unnecessary conflict, at least for now. Right now, we knew that getting access to the television and bookshelves would be our most useful additions this early on. But down the line, deploying our unlocked chunks in the direction of a nearby house would be essential, both to get us more food and potentially closer to the main town of West Point. While we tried to stay safe holding out for our next chunk unlock, I adorned my face with a stylish camo design. While I couldn't be certain, I was convinced this would improve my archery skills under the surface. As the first night grew closer, a small group of zombies were drawn towards us, and in the interest of acquiring any extra toys, I stood on the corner of our cell to goad them into attacking, which was a plan that immediately backfired.
Fight outside, fight outside. Well, this isn't ideal.
Ow.
Run around. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you've watched a few of my videos, you'll know that on every one of my adventures, I always force people to join me because I get lonely. And in order to follow in my footsteps, you need a go-to place to start your own Project Zomboid server for you and your friends. That is why you should check out Pine Hosting. With Pine Hosting, you can set up a server in minutes with a super easy to use server panel. In addition to that, Pine Hosting offers global locations and DDoS protection, so your server is always secure and lag-free. And when it comes to Project Zomboid, they have a one-click workshop installer for all of your favorite mods, which is so much easier than doing it all yourself. And all that for some of the most affordable prices out of most competitors. And get this, Pine Hosting isn't only for Project Zomboid. You can even get yourself a server for other huge games like Minecraft, Rust, and even more. So if you're looking to get a server with Pine Hosting, you can use my code at checkout to get 30% off on your order. Or if you prefer, you can use the link in the description below. Either way, you are helping to support my channel. Thank you, Pine Hosting, for sponsoring this video. With our first big fight overcome for now, despite our space constraints, we rested for a moment and refilled on food. That was until a nearby migrating group caught light of our location and started knocking on the door. Now, normally, I'd love nothing more than to open my door to a couple of gentlemen in suits, but since we couldn't leave the boundaries of our chunk, we waited patiently for them to barge in so that they could be dealt with. This put us in a bit of a precarious position, since our home now lacked a front door, but we didn't have the resources or the space to really do anything about it, so we just had to be on guard. There would be no sleeping until we could acquire a safe location to do so in. So for the remainder of day 1, I stayed on watch. As the second morning arrived, we were mere moments away from being able to unlock another cell. However, our plans were put on hold.
We might have to go out the back bathroom window. Just be prepared for it.
Wait, it's about to be 9. It's about to be 9. We can go to a tile.
Okay. Tile unlocked. Okay. They're gonna come through. Door open. Oh my god, holy shit.
Amidst the panic of our fight on day 2, we had unlocked our second chunk, giving us access to the greatest power of all, knowledge. That's what we told ourselves at least. We sat down to enjoy the finer pleasantries of our quaint existence, a carpentry show to advance our skills. After that was complete, I worked to move the corpses from nearby our house to the back garden. Corpse sickness was a huge risk in a run like this. Not being able to dispose of the corpses meant that we ran the risk every time we walked nearby them, so we instead piled them together in a big meat pile for now. Naturally, we spent a few hours removing their clothes and belongings, some to be chopped down for training and tailoring, and others to be added to my shiny drawer, where I keep all my precious shinies.
Don't touch the shine. Don't touch my shine.
As day 2 was coming to a close, we opened a map of West Point provided to us by one of our dearly deceased friends, and tried to make a strategy for moving forward. The center of West Point was the best place to acquire loot, food, guns, and the like, and nearest to us, conveniently enough, was the police station, which would have more than enough guns for our short-term needs. However, we didn't have enough food to sustain us for the 10 to 15 days it would take to unlock our pathway there, so instead we hatched an alternate plan. With our next few days, we would forge a path over to the house next door, giving us hopefully an extra few shelves of food on our journey to the station. This was a multi-pronged approach. More than 2 prongs, but enough that I can't be bothered to count. We needed a few essential items to secure our living space and humble household. First, some key tools like a hammer and a saw. With these, we could somewhat reinforce our house to protect us enough so that we could sleep through the night without risk. I sat my fat behind down on the cozy living room rug and read the second foraging book, which we had conveniently found in the bookshelves. By the time that was complete, it was just before 9 AM, and at 9 AM, we'd unlock a new cell to continue our journey. We held our breath and stepped forward into the great unknown, except it wasn't really unknown since we knew this cell was pretty much useless. But much like real life, sometimes you have to do a whole lot of boring shit to get to the juicy stuff. So, with our daily cell acquired, we passed the time by watching the TV and yelling into the abyss. In truth, day 3 was like watching paint dry. I started to regret my life. While for you, this journey passes in a single moment, for me, it was a black hole of emotion. I craved the satisfying crunch of caving in a zombie's dome. And yet, no matter how loud I yelled, not a single zombie approached. After a full day of feeling sorry for myself, the time had come to progress once again. The clock struck 9 AM and I abandoned fish store in the house, because everyone knows that if you get to the loot first, you can greedily gobble up all the goodies before anyone knows, and I was one greedy little goblin. We got our hands on a few guns to help with the disgusting amount of zombies in the area. That was sarcasm, by the way. And with a hammer acquired, I was able to crunch down some of my shinies into scrap metal. Unfortunately, I had no need for scrap metal, so I'm not really sure why I did that. Nonetheless, I dismantled the few items I could without a saw to acquire some planks and nails, which fortunately was just enough to barricade up the bathroom window. Fish Store used his big muscles to lift a few couches inside, and so this became a bathroom. A bath bedroom. A sleep room. We took a first slumber inside the tiny room. After waking up, we made sure to carefully navigate through the doorway without leaving our unlocked cell space. That bath didn't belong to us. It was part of the dark realms. It was outside the borders, is what I'm trying to say. Heading into the house next door, we knew that the food would be essential for us to acquire. But because of the spacing of the cells, we wouldn't be able to get to the kitchen without first acquiring a cell on the way. And since we had no need for another television, we instead worked our way up, giving us access to the bathroom and a second bedroom. This was nothing special, but at the very worst, it gave us a little bit more space to forage in if we chose to do so. I collected all the bits of scrap wood and planks and left everything in an extremely neat pile in our living room. In Zomboid, there are 2 types of players. There are people who sort into cabinets and crates, and there's the rest of us, the agents of chaos. When in doubt, just drag it out. With the evening arriving all too soon, we settled in for another sleep. Finally, on day 6, we crossed the barrier into the kitchen next door. Fortunately, it gave us enough food supplies for at least the very next few days and allowed us to direct our focus onto the next task. Before the first part of our journey was complete, I wanted to reach the center crossroads of the town. On the way, we could pass by the police station and acquire some weapons before spending the remaining days forging ahead down the road. Because to be honest, I was getting a little bit crazy and I needed to kill some freaking zombies. And if we died on the way, then we'd die in real life. That was meant to be funny, but it was just really dark. Then the video would end. On day 7, a small group of zombies roamed their way near our original starting chunk. But even though it quelled my internal frustrations for a short while, the only tool of value it provided was a square shovel. This was a useful melee weapon, but wouldn't help with our current concerns. After a quiet slumber leading into day 8, we were finally able to reach the road leading into town. We were so close to the police station I could taste it. Naturally, I immediately tried to draw the attention of any zombie within, but that almost backfired very quickly.
No. Oh, okay. I wouldn't shoot. Just go through the forest. Uh-oh.
Our food supplies were not dwindling, but certainly wearing away. And even though I picked the overweight trait, the OCD in my soul dictated that if I saw a single bar of hunger, I'd immediately want to eat. In some ways, it was fitting that I was overweight, since obviously my internal programming dictated my fat ass wanted to eat all the time. Nevertheless, we forged on, living off canned peaches and crickets. It wasn't a luxurious life, but it was life nonetheless. Over the next couple of days, we paved a path into the first window of the police station. Equipped with a 2x4 adorned with the nails that I threw together, we took our first steps within.
Well, it's not promising, but...
We had hoped we might find something a little bit more substantial than a few mostly empty reception cupboards, but this was part of the challenge. Each consecutive day could honestly just be a means to an end, nothing more than a step in the right direction. Madness had begun to creep in. I watched the passage of time pass by in a matter of cells. Minutes to hours, hours to days, I was just progressing, moving forward with my eyes slightly further forward. This was like nothing I had ever experienced in Project Zomboid. It was a test of the soul, not of skill. After 12 days in this segmented hellscape, we reached the armory inside the police station, disassembling the doors and equipping ourselves with whatever guns we could find within. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. With our next chunk, we would roam onto the road and make our way to the center, the crossroads that would release us from this cellular prison. Finally, on the 13th day, almost 2 weeks into this adventure, we roamed back out onto the main road. And after long last, we drew some attention.
Through the window. Uh-oh, fish still were actually killing zombies. I just want more, dude. I just want to kill more.
From here, it seemed inevitable. We would make our way along the road and reach the center point. And yet, just to our west lied a car. And inside each car was a horn, and that horn could summon zombies from hundreds of meters away, and I could feel that rush again and again. Of course, it was counterproductive, but such was our journey, traveling aimlessly one step at a time. And so, despite my better judgment saying keep going, keep walking forward, I turned my heel and instead strolled towards action. The loot within this car was meaningless, insignificant at best, but from miles away they swarmed. The undead force, adrenaline rushed through my veins. In a way, I was already free, and so many precious shinies to add to my collection. I made my way back to our starting house and spent an entire night laying my shinies in a single square so that I could stare at them all the time, and so that if Fishdoor tried to pull a fast one, he couldn't hide from me. My precious shinies. The rush was like a fuel to the flame. I trekked back, intent on collecting more shinies, on killing more Zeds, on living. How ironic it was that when one chooses to live despite his limitations, he risks that very livelihood which he chooses.
Uh-oh.
merely a laceration. That was at best a roadblock on the road. I continued to fight. I was addicted. The only thing that could fulfill my cravings was danger, chaos. And at the end of a long and weary day, I found something that I had been seeking for a long time. With this axe, we could cut down trees, obtain a tree branch, make ourselves a makeshift saw, dismantle furniture, buildings, rebuild, create a home, a future. This was the key to unlocking our destiny. And in a way, it was fitting. When one moment shows you hope, the next might show you the cruel reality. Queasiness, stress, unhappiness, pain. By themselves, they bear no burden, but combined, the burden they bear is a weight unliftable. I didn't tell Fish Store. I kept it to myself, but there was no doubting it. I was infected. I even lied to myself. Insanity crept in. Instead of using my saw and axe, I tore apart the floorboards, salvaging planks from them in a far less efficient manner. I built walls around my shinies. If my journey was limited, the least I could do was protect these beautiful jewels from ending up in the Horde's hands. Another day passed. I found myself more and more weary, but I trekked on. I would reach my goal. I would reclaim the crossroads, meaningless as they were. The Horde attacked. We fought them off. Another bite. Time, it was limited. I could see my life as a matter of cells, distance traveled. I would make it. I just had to hold off for a few days more. The power shut off. Our food stores became food scraps. Fish Store didn't know. He just kept on keeping on. I grew sick, injured. Perhaps if I just ate enough, fought hard enough, I could make it. Perhaps from the crossroads we could lay eyes on a hazmat zombie, one that held a cure. My hopes became wishes, and those wishes became dreams. I stood on the corner of our newest cell, and in that moment I finally accepted it, that which I had been avoiding for all this time. I wasn't going to make it, and that was okay.
Look, man. We're only a few steps away, a few days away.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to keep going, Fish.
What do you mean? Keep going.
I need you to keep going without me. I got bit.
Promise, but... No. When did you get bit?
A couple of days ago. Keep going without me, Fish.
Why didn't you tell me? We could have...
Fish, keep going without me.
Could have done something. Oh, come on, we can make it. We can make it tonight. You can at least. You can. No. No. Stay back. I don't want to hurt you. We did it, Kezza.